Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar, How Ladbrokes Made Their R12 Upgrade Work for Them. So, today's speakers are Jason Conroy from Ladbrokes and Julie Bowen from insightsoftware.com. So without further ado, Jules, over to you.
Thanks, Amy. For the next half an hour to 40 minutes, we'll be discussing how Ladbrokes made the transition from 11i to R12 on Oracle, and some lessons to be learned and what they did well and things they might do differently if they were doing that same process again. Some people on the webinar will already know me. I'm Julie Bowen. I'm an account manager at Insight Software. I am an accountant by trade, and I've spent many years implementing ERP solutions, so I'm very much aware of what our customers are looking for and the things that they're trying to achieve with a reporting solution. So I'll just let Jason introduce himself.
I'm Jason Conroy, Group ERP Systems Reporting Manager at Ladbrokes. I have a background of both finance and IT, currently in a position which I see myself as the IT resource in the world of finance. Thanks,
Jason. So, I mean, most people on the call today will have heard of Ladbrokes, but if you could just tell us a little bit about Ladbrokes, because I didn't really have an appreciation of how big a company they were.
Yeah, we're currently Britain's second largest bookmaker. See the stats in front of ourselves, in excess of 16,000 employees, 800,000 customers and growing. We operate retail, so in our shops, so it's about 3,000 shops in the UK and Ireland, a telephone and an online business. Ultimately, we're going to become, firstly, get back to number one, and secondly, become a fully E-enabled international betting game business.
And I am actually supporting you because both me and my husband have got a Ladbrokes online betting account.
Glad to hear it.
So, how does the finance function actually support the rest of the business at Ladbrokes?
Well, I mean, Ladbrokes is quite a complex business. We have a huge amount of data. You can imagine the amount of bets that we take in, let alone a day and in an hour. Our general ledger reflects that. We have, up to 30 ledgers, currently three operating units, soon to become 4. We have currently 17 currencies, again, soon to move to 18. Complex tax rules. We've first came on in the world of Oracle since 1999. At that point in time, we installed 11i. We needed to do this to get visibility in the numbers, and so the business could make strategic decisions.
So you originally became an Insight customer back in 2008.
Correct.
Can't believe it's so long ago.
Yes. 2008. You yourselves came along because we were struggling with the current reporting tools we had. I suppose we're going to get onto those shortly, but yes, we felt that there was something missing on the ability to report quickly and necessarily get access to our data was becoming quite difficult.
Yeah. And I think a lot of our customers, we hear the same sort of story, that they go for Oracle because the actual front end, the database technology is first class.
Yes.
But when it comes to reporting and inquiries, that there is definitely a gap, especially when it comes to servicing the finance function. So before you moved to Insight Unlimited, what were you using to report over your data in Oracle?
Yeah, we had a select number of the Oracle FSGs, so the ability to run from the ADI tool into Excel. We had Oracle Discoverer, and again, it's primarily used and then input into Excel, and then Excel itself. So quite often the data will be taken from FSGs, from Discoverer, manipulated in Excel, and distributed or used accordingly. This just did come into quite a few issues. Quite often end users, depending on their Excel capabilities, would struggle to necessarily get the answers they were looking for. They spent far too long manipulating the data and actually using the data for getting the real analysis out of it, and also that we were heavily dependent on IT. Quite often a report had to be built. We didn't necessarily have the skills to do so ourselves. Also, they weren't particularly happy with saving all these Excel spreadsheets and clogging up the shared space that we have, or the limited shared space that we had at the time, and also the consistency. So many people, we have a few finance divisions doing things very differently, and quite often the delay. We're quite often dealing with current month's reporting actually 2 or 3 weeks later. So if there was a critical business decision to be made, or some spend that we've already again spent for a further 2 or 3 weeks.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, as an accountant, I obviously used to spend a lot of time in Excel, and you'd often find that you'd turn up to a meeting, as you've probably done at Ladbrokes, and everybody'd have a different spreadsheet with slightly different numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously the inconsistencies with spreadsheet. But It's funny, I was talking to another customer at the Oracle user group last week, and one of the things that they said that their accountants became happier when they started using Insight, because you have to be an Excel guru now. You don't have to be an accountant. You actually need to be way beyond that, just to be able to create your lookups, your pivot tables, all that sort of good stuff. So that's interesting. At this point, we're going to hand over to Amy for a polling question.
Okay, so just launching the polling question now. So this is a multi-choice, multi-answer question, which is what are you currently using to report over your data? So the options are Oracle Standard Reporting Tools, Spreadsheets, BI System, or Other. So just a couple of more seconds to answer that. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much, everyone, and closing the question now. Okay, so it seems to be a kind of equal split between Oracle Standard Reporting Tools and Spreadsheets, which is what we normally tend to find in companies, isn't it, Jules?
Yeah, very much so. What we'll tend to find is that people are using, pretty much like Ladbrokes, are using the standard Oracle tools such as FSG and Discoverers, but then they're putting them into Excel to re-manipulate them into a format that actually means something. So, what did you like about Insight Unlimited going back to 2008 when we were all a bit younger?
Well, firstly, what was great for us is the fact that you came in, we had conversations, but rather than a sales pitch, it was more about the proof of concept. You said to us, actually, do you know what? We're so confident in our product, we'll give you the product to use. So you came in very quickly after that, installed the product, which installed in, seemed to have a very low footprint, installed very quickly. Obviously limited cost at the time because you were happy to prove this to yourselves, it just went in, it worked, and worked very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because we can actually install it on your data, and we'll come on to that in relation to the R12 upgrade in a minute. It means that people can actually see Insight working before they have to commit to as a company and a product. And it's very intuitive to use. So as part of the proof of concept, we're more than happy for people to touch the software. We'll set up reports that are relevant to you. So at the end of that process, I think we left you with a suite of reports that you were ready to use.
Absolutely.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about the implementation of Insight Unlimited?
Yes, well, once we went live and we said, yeah, we were happy to do this. Again, I refer to what I said earlier, it is really a low footprint. It installs very quickly. We found that the FSG and Discover reports that we had been using were very quickly phased out. I mean, FSGs were almost immediately phased out. We didn't find the FSGs particularly helpful for us, and found that Insight could very quickly deliver those, and gave us much more ability to change filters, and manipulate the reports. And actually, to Discoverer, Discoverer, not only, we were using the 11i version, the current version, which we'll be getting onto shortly. We've chosen not to use Discoverer at all. We currently have 6 power users and 34 console users, and it's quite useful. All of a sudden now we're finding that actually it's more time spent answering questions and getting the information out themselves, and getting the right information out. The truth is out there is a really key statement for us. There was too much previously of people trying to get the same information but actually getting different results. So we have really found our day-to-day reporting tool. It is something that is used daily across all our modules.
Excellent. And I think that's the way that most people would deploy our software, to be fair. You'd have a small amount of people probably writing the reports, and then you distribute it via the console. And these console users would be people either within finance or out in the business. They can run their inquiries, they can change filters, and they can also drill down to the underlying data. So what that means is that you will have less calls coming back into the core IT or finance team that are writing the reports, because people can actually answer the questions that they want to when they get their monthly reporting packs. So, you've implemented OBIEE, or you're in the process of implementing OBIEE. Can you describe your experience of that, and did you ever plan to use it as your transactional reporting tool?
Yeah, when it was originally sold to us, I think there was this belief that it would be the only reporting tool at Ladbrokes. Unfortunately for us, we've realised that isn't going to be the case. It's a good tool for pretty dashboards, delivering to probably very, very high volume people outside the world of finance. But for ourselves, we found actually for transactions, not necessarily very, very helpful or very useful. We find Insight's much easier for us to to get that real-time, quick access to information. But for delivering pretty dashboards to a large volume of users and potentially to our retail estate or to our 3,000 shops, because it's on a web platform, it's quite easy to distribute it for that. But we certainly found long implementation times. We were hoping to go live with this in February of this year. We've only just gone live with it now. So again, quite a delay in terms of the amount of effort we believe there was to put it in. So yeah, it's more for static reports and high level analysis.
Yeah, and I think that sort of echoes what our other customers do, really, because most of our customers will have some sort of BI application and they'll use that for the management layers and their fancy dashboards, but it doesn't remove the fact that finance still want a transactional reporting tool when it comes to looking at their numbers on a day-to-day basis. So at Ladbrokes, what were your main reasons for migrating to R12?
Yeah, I mean, the business had fundamentally changed. We put R11 in 99. At which point in time we were primarily a retail business, we just had primarily the shops, and everything effectively was built round the shops. So when we started expanding and moving out to other areas, we found that we were sort of restricted by the fact that we had started the implementation, our GL segments or combinations, with the fact that we were a retail business. We'd also, unfortunately, because we were hosting it ourselves, we had maybe failed to patch and keep the system up to date, so we got into a position where we were about to be unsupported on the Oracle R11 version. Again, because we were hosting it ourselves, we found that space was becoming an issue, disk space. So it just, everything was moving to the fact that actually we're going to have to spend a lot of money to try and keep a version of Oracle that maybe we'd moved on. We'd maybe got to the point where we needed new functionality, and actually our chart of accounts were no longer relevant to the business.
It's amazing what the internet's done for companies. Who'd have thought it? Could you tell us a bit about the upgrade process itself?
Yes, I mean, it was a very quick implementation, a re-implementation, not an upgrade. It was we started the project in March 2012. The actual design phase, so conference room pilots, was started at that point in time. So literally, it wasn't about what do we have; it's about what do we want. So we all decided that a re-implementation was the way to go. Initially, the project was actually driven by HR because they felt they wanted to move away from R11, but initially they were going to go solo. We were going to follow. Then we decided actually finance wanted to join on this journey. So 10 people were mobilised, split sort of 50-50 with business process owners and subject matter experts. And we'd also decided to implement a new module to us, the project accounting module. And during this whole process, it was actually Insights that we used not only to report on our old R11 instance to get the data out for migration, but actually managed to install on the test environments for our R12 implementation as well. So we actually had the tool running on both the prior and the sort of the new to be R12 implementation.
Yeah, and a lot of companies do that. I mean, as part of an upgrade process, you still want to be able to report on your system that you're live on, but when it comes to UAT testing, like you did at Ladbrokes, you needed to map Insight to 12 instead of then still report over 11i, but have the UAT testing on 12, which is obviously very useful. So we've just got another couple of polling questions from Amy.
That's
if
right.
people would like to participate.
Okay, so second polling question coming up now. So when are you planning to upgrade? So options are 0 to 3 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 24 months, already upgraded, or no upgrade plans at the moment. So if I can have a couple of seconds to fill in your responses, that would be much appreciated. Okay, and closing that poll now. So looks like the majority of you are thinking of upgrading within the next 12 to 24 months. And then the next question we have, launching now, is what sort of upgrade are you planning? So is it a re-implementation to R12 or is it a technical upgrade? Another couple of seconds to answer this question. Okay, surprising actually, it is an equal split between a re-implementation and a technical upgrade.
interesting. I think what we usually tend to find is that the people that are re-implementing have been in a situation such as Ladbrokes where their business has changed so fundamentally from when they first implemented 11 that it makes complete sense to start from scratch. So you were working to pretty tight deadlines, weren't you?
Yes, I mean, as I alluded to earlier, started the conference room pilots in March 2012 with a view to go live on the 9th of January 2013. So yes, it was extremely tight, considering within that we had to have testing and get through a year end on the R11, R11 system as well. And as with any project, we obviously wanted to make sure we were within budget.
So did the upgrade go to plan, dare I ask?
Yes, thankfully we went live on the 9th of January as we set out to do. We did complete within budget. It was a seamless transition because actually it was, rather than it was a re-implementation as opposed to an upgrade. So it was a switch over on the 9th of January, which also meant that we had, there was no downtime during this re-implementation. Users had access to data on both the R11 and the R12 instance. We did implement the project accounting module, which was new to us at Ladbrokes. And in terms of audit, we managed to do the audit on R11 and the audit for the migration of the data as well, using this Insight product. So yeah, actually it was a success.
Excellent. I think the ability to be able to run reports over 11 and then also run them over 12, even though you'd fundamentally change the data structure, your trial balance still has to come out with a 0 to get the tick in the box from audit. So that's great. So at this point, we're going to actually, Jason's going to just take us through a handful of inquiries that they actually use Insight for at Ladbrokes, and just talk you through some of the features here.
So we're going to just run through, as Julie's referred to, run through some of the reports that we created very quickly when we went live on R12 and within the Insight product. So first things first, as we alluded to, we wanted to check that our TB is balanced. So very quickly, this product was installed probably within an hour, to be fair. The great thing was there was no requirement to know the structures or have to create views on the Oracle data, because the Insight product already knows the views, understands the table structures, can pull up the names that you've created. So for us, for the geo combination for accounts called natural account, again, it's in the table, it knows that, it pulls it out. So very quickly, within a very short space of time, we were able to create the financial statements that we need straight away. So we trial balances, P&L reports, transactions from both GL, AP, from projects, from purchasing. So we were very quickly able to create these. We were able to, you do have the ability, I'm not going to demonstrate it now, but you can, if you wish, drill down to the detail within that number, so you can see all the different ledgers that information has come from. So whether it be invoicing, whether it be cost management, so the purchase accruals, or project information. So that was very key to us, and it was the fact that we could pull this information out so quickly, and more importantly, and actually something that we recognise. This is what the accountants at Ladbrokes are used to seeing, and it's terminology that makes sense to them. So if we just switch now, so that's a trial balance report. We also have a GL transactions report, so we can go into the real detail of that information. So you can go from a very high level, but straight away into a very detail as well. So as we alluded to earlier, we are an organisation that has a magnitude of ledgers rather. So you can see within there all the ledgers that we have available. And this is quite key. I'm a power user, so I can see all these ledgers. Now, this is because based on the responsibility that I have in Oracle. So for another user within finance that may only have access to the UK, they will only see the UK ledgers. But depending on the level of access that the individual requires, they can see, and we can report on one or many of these ledgers, or if in fact all of these ledgers in one report if you so wish.
Yeah, and I think that usually gets audit gives us a big tick in the box for that, because obviously if you're setting up security in Oracle, what's the point in giving somebody a reporting solution or a data dump that doesn't actually respect any of that security?
I mean, and obviously all these ledgers are in a magnitude of currencies. Again, quite key for us. So we can report on any of the currencies. So in Oracle, obviously it stores the information in an entered currency, so we can pull out the currency that the transaction was entered in. But at the same time, we can see that in the translated currency, so we can see any of these currencies, but also the GBP equivalent or any other currency that we so wish. So the complete flexibility of this, and this is anyone can see this. Any user can go in, use these filters, and it's not you're not technical. You don't have to see the table joins or understand where this data is pulling from. You just go in, select what you require, and run your report. And you can see the magnitude of these are just a number of the filters that you can select. And again, I can show in a minute what else you can add. But you can very quickly build up. You can leave it very generic, as I have done. Well, you could even take out this account if you wish. You could be very generic and look at all the transactions in a particular company. You could be very specific: cost center, account. All of the segments that you may have, what periods, a single or multiple of periods, different sources, journal sources, batch names. It really is. It's very flexible. And just to show that those are the columns that we've chose. Well, there's a whole magnitude of them in here. It really does give the ability to look at all your table names, and I don't need to understand how these tables join together. They do. No user needs to understand that. They can just select what they want. If they don't know what table it's from, you can do a search, and it'll show anything that has any such word in it. So it is a very easy, intuitive product to use, and you don't need to be technical to use it. And I think that's been very key for us. I mean, very minimal training.
Yeah, and that's why accountants tend to love Insight.
So that's the GL module. Obviously, there is, again, in this report, if I wish to, you can drill down, and there's various options within here. You can see the sort of level of information that we've as business chosen to pull out. So again, for us, you can see we have the entered, and if this was a report that had multiple currencies, you'd see different values in there and there. So you've the entered balance or the accounted based on your functional requirements in terms of your functional values, descriptions, and that's it. So that's what we as a business have chosen to put in. So if we now move on to accounts payable, again, very similar look and feel to each report, which makes it very easy to, when training individuals, you've got the ability to look at multiple ledgers, multiple GL combinations, so i.e. where these invoices have been charged to. You can look at specific vendors if you so wish. Drill down on a range of invoice dates, a range of general ledger dates, i.e. when the invoice was ultimately keyed and charged to the ledger, payment dates. Very flexible. For ourselves, we found this very useful from a perspective of, again, looking at a magnitude of currencies. We can see the value of the line amounts. This is actually going to a line detail of each invoice. We can see how much is unpaid, and we can also see the functional value again. So for Ladbrokes, this is very key. You did used to struggle with different currencies and the understanding of the currencies between entered and functional. So it's been this is very flexible for us, and actually very key to us is these reports are actually being used by all the finance divisions. So it's not a different report depending on which finance division you are in Ladbrokes. It's one report, and you get your information from the same report. Okay, so, and the last thing we're going to look at in terms of reporting is something called DX, and we'll start with another AP report that we created. So we were looking previously at invoice details, but we've also managed actually to use Insight to actually get KPIs out for us. So the accounts payable manager came to us and said, I'd really like to see how many invoices we're keying and who's keying them. So very quickly, using DX, which is a tool that gives you access to all the Oracle tables. So you can very quickly create a report that wasn't so easy to do in Oracle. I mean, I struggle immensely to do this in any Oracle reporting tool. So we were able to run out, see how many invoices were keyed on whatever date range you want to choose. And not only that, you can quite easily, again, which is what I like, you don't have to have multiple reports. What you can actually do is this high detail function. So if I just want to see at a very summary level the number of invoices keyed, very quickly I can now see who's keyed an invoice, how many they've keyed, and what date range I want to choose. So it wasn't just about pulling transactions out or always getting what the accountants like to do, get the pound sign out there. It's actually also you can build some KPIs and really understand who's doing what is happening in the system. So some other DX reports we've created. We'll start with a VAT return. So another thing we were struggling with was you have Oracle BI Publisher, has some VAT reporting in it, but again we found it didn't really give us the level of detail that we required as a business. We do have quite some complex tax rules, and found that we needed to go a step further than a simple BI Publisher. So again, used DX report, pulled out joined the tables together that we required, and we were able to build a report that gave us the very low level of granularity that we need to produce a tax return. So again, all VAT returns for Ladbrokes are used using this report. So it literally details out the tax status of each individual invoice line. It gives us the tax rate it was calculated and the value and the currency. And again, this could be used on any currency, any ledger, and it comes back to the GL to the penny and enables us to effectively create our VAT returns. So that has been...
Nobody likes creating a VAT return.
Absolutely nobody likes doing those, I'm sure you know. But the fact is now we have complete confidence. We always have, but it's far less, having to go to Excel and start, using formulae to drive it. Literally, this is generating our tax return. And last but not least, projects. A completely new module for Ladbrokes. Again, we tried using the Oracle standard reports to report on these projects we started creating. Found that Oracle was great, as with all forms. It's great to look at very specifics, but actually if you wanted to look at either a whole project or a series of projects, we just found that it wasn't particularly helpful or useful, and we were actually quite often struggling to get information out. So again, turns to DX, very quickly created a report that gave us exactly what we needed. We are able to now see a project, how we're doing on each specific task. How is each task performing, what costs are we getting, and how we're doing against budget. Obviously very key for finance. So very quickly, not only is this used by people in finance, it's also used by project managers in IT. So we're actually able to give them real time, very quick information on how they're performing on their projects.
Excellent. So, if you were going to upgrade again, what would you do differently? Don't say look for another job.
Let's switch back to the... Well, without a doubt, more time for testing. I can't stress testing. We went live on 9th of January as we said we would do, but there was a little bit of squashing of the testing, unfortunately. So we did UAT in probably 2 to 3 weeks. I'd say we should have spent probably more, like 4 to 6 weeks. Can't stress the importance of testing. So we did go live, but there were some teething issues. I resolved them, but it would have been a lot easier if we'd gone live without them. Reporting. Without a doubt, and prioritised reporting. Great that Insights went in and we were able to put the reports in so quickly, but actually those reports should have already been readily available when we went live. So I think those are definitely my lessons learned.
Great, and what other projects have you got on the horizon coming up?
Yeah, we're actually in the process of now putting insights in for fixed assets. So we will start to report on all the assets that we have in the business. So yeah, that's the next thing for Insights. And certainly, now we're very familiar with the world of DX. Is actually creating a whole magnitude of other reports that we would like to do. So there's lots of other KPIs in the area, areas, particularly in purchasing primarily, where we will be, soon creating some bigger KPI reports there. And also, at some point, moving our HR and payroll to the current release of Oracle as well.
Great. Okay, well, thanks very much, Jason. We're just going to move on to our last polling question. There's some customer logos on the screen there, but they're all on our website. One thing worth mentioning: we were awarded at the OUG Awards last month the Oracle Gold Partner of the Year award, and I think that really is testament to the credibility of Insight and how long we've been going and the flexibility and the uniqueness of the software. So at this point, Amy's got one last polling question, then we'll pop my details on the screen.
Yeah, last question, I promise. So you've seen it over Ladbrokes data. Who would like to see Insight Unlimited over your own real-time data? Just a couple of seconds to fill that in. Great. Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, so just going to leave my details on the screen now, so if anybody wants to take those down, if anyone's got any further questions, either for myself or Jason, if they drop me an email or give me a bell, I'm quite happy to take those. And if you want to type any questions into the side panel, we'll be able to address those now also.
Yeah, great. Okay, and a couple of questions actually come in during the webinar. So question for Jason. Have you started using OBIEE yet? And have you got any initial feedback?
Yes, we have just started using OBIEE. We found that it was sold to us as a drop in, work straight away tool. Unfortunately, we found that actually you'll find that you have to do probably more customization than you realise. It doesn't necessarily use all the terminology that you're used to in Word Oracle. So I found that actually your segment 1 may be called company in Oracle, but it would be called GL segment 1 in OBIEE. So you find that there's quite a lot of manipulation and probably a lot more work to do than you first realise. I think that's certainly my learnings. And I say we were supposed to go live with that product in February, and we've gone live in October. So I think that speaks volumes.
Okay. Second question that's come in. Does Insight leverage the existing parent-child relationships in Oracle?
Yes, it does. Yes, you can import hierarchies from Oracle into Insights. So yes, it certainly does.
Yeah, I think a lot of our customers use that functionality because sometimes you just want to be able to report at parent level and it consolidate all the children up to that without having to know all the children values. We've had another question come in. Do you use Insight to report over your budget data that you hold within Oracle?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have probably a dozen budget versions, and again, we can pull any of those in, or all of them if you so wish, and report those against the actuals. So, yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Lovely. And I think we're just about out of time now. So if you do have any questions, you do have Julie's details on the screen. So thank you very, very much to our presenters today, to Jason and to Julie. And of course, thank you very much for joining our webinar today. Hope to speak to you again very soon. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.